Welcome back to part two of this lesson on shady shrinkflation from this Illumination English series. And we are going to be looking at the vocabulary from that article that we read out loud in part one. So if you didn't see that yet, go back to part one of this lesson. Let's move on here to look at our vocabulary more in depth. So all of these words you see in the vocabulary boost section were from the reading. So if you want to see them in context there, go back and watch the first part of the lesson. Over here, we make sentences, and I always leave an empty box for you to make your own sentence in. I've also left some blank space here where we're going to make a sentence together. First, let's go through the vocabulary, starting with got you down. Okay, so if something has got you down, and it's usually in the passive form, life's got you down, or my job's got me down, okay, that means that you feel sad or depressed by some circumstances surrounding you. Stealthier is the comparative form of stealthy, and of course, just the noun, the base form of the word stealth, means to be, right, especially cautious, careful, but in a skillful way. You're trained to be, well, sort of sneaky. Okay, so for instance, spies are trained military people like Navy SEALs or other special operations forces that go in and maybe spy on a certain, maybe the enemy or some territory. Okay, they have to be very stealthy when they do that. All right, so stealthier, again, the comparative form of stealthy. Let's go to cost cutting next. Cost cutting means basically you're reducing the price of something, the price of goods or services, or maybe even if you're making a budget, how much you spend. So if you need to do some cost cutting in your own personal budget, you can do that as well. Okay, as well as companies. Okay, our next word is coined, or phrase actually, is a phrase. So coin the phrase. If something is coined, that means it's minted, like when you mint a new coin. So you're creating some new expression, some new phrase, a word or a saying that gets repeated usually and known by a lot of people. All right, now our next phrase again here is get away with it, or to get away with something. So the it here can be replaced by a thing. Okay, so for instance, to get away with basically means to escape from punishment, right? Even though you're deserving of it. So if you get away with something, let's say you get away with murder, can say that too. Boy, he got away with murder. That means, yeah, sometimes it's exaggerated. You might hear that phrase. That means he just did a bad thing and he got away with it. He wasn't punished at all. Another similar phrase you might hear is to get off scot-free. Again, so if a criminal commits a crime and then he's not punished appropriately, or what you think is not sufficient or severely enough, you could say he got off scot-free, without any punishment, or with not enough. Okay, let's go on to sneaky. Again, kind of similar to stealth or stealthy, but stealth implies more like training, especially for military purposes. Sneaky can be anybody. Anybody can be sneaky. It just means to be deceptive or secretive. Again, not being truthful, honest, or forthright. To bank on something is like a sure bet, a sure thing. That's why I put it here, a sure bet or a sure thing. So you can rely on something or someone that's going to come through every time. Our last word is fleeced. To be fleeced means basically you're charged too much for something. It can also mean you're defrauded. So somebody is taking advantage of you in some way and making you pay too much for something, or perhaps, yeah, deceitfully getting something out of you. Now, let's look at our sentences that I've made up. The first one, let's read it out loud together. Okay, if you can, try to read it along with me. My mother finally realized she won't be able to bank on her Social Security income long term. Okay, I've used the word bank on here. Now, this means, let's say my mother is old and she finally just came to this realization, after putting money into Social Security all her life, working hard, she finally realized that she just can't count on getting the money back that she put in to Social Security. It's kind of like the National Pension Fund that we have here in the United States. So long term, right? She won't be able to rely on that long term as a source of income for her, maybe in her old age. Okay, so she can't count on that. She can't bank on it. It's not a sure thing anymore. It's kind of risky. Okay, but unfortunately, we don't have a choice about that. Social Security is taken out of our income if you work for a company. Okay, let's go to our next sentence here. I'm using the phrase get away with something, to get away with it. And I'm using it in a little different context, but still, I mean, we're not talking about criminals, but here, cyberbullies. Okay. Cyberbullies can really hurt people, and they usually get away with it. Now, we're talking about anonymous cyberbullies, not like a cyberbully in an institution that people could trace or track. It's hard to find who the cyberbullies are in many cases, unless there are people that that are disguising themselves in some way. Okay, but a lot of times, unfortunately, because maybe the person who's being bullied is too ashamed or too afraid to report this bully, often they get away with it. Okay, let's make a sentence of our own now here. I'm going to open up my text box and let's see, let's make our type a little larger. Okay. And let's try. Okay, here's our box to make our sentence. Okay, I'm going to choose. Oh, I love this. Fleeced. Okay. Oh, and another thing I wanted to tell you about fleece is that it's actually another word for sheep's wool, the fur, the hair on a sheep, on a lamb. I'm not sure exactly what it has to do. I don't know the entire etymology of the word, but fleeced is used in lots of different contexts. Here we're just using it to mean to take advantage of somebody or to defraud someone. So here's my sentence. Let's see. And this happened to me a lot, when I lived in a foreign country, because everyone could tell I was either a foreigner or a tourist. So I got fleeced a lot when I went out shopping, especially to outdoor markets. So this sentence comes from personal experience. All right, so I'm going to type here, since the street vendors knew or realized I was a tourist, they fleeced me, meaning they made me pay more than they would charge, somebody who lived in that area. Okay, a citizen of the locale, somebody who could maybe speak the language. Okay, so that's a sentence here where let me just take the word here and bold it. That's going to bold the whole thing. That's all right. Okay, now you can see it more clearly. So here I just went on my own personal experience. That's another way, another strategy you can use when you are creating your sentences. Think of something in your life where maybe one of these things has happened to you. Maybe you feel sad or depressed about something. What's got you down? Okay, make a sentence about that. So that's my challenge to you now. So think about it first, type your sentence, type it down, and I will see you in part 3, where we're going to be doing a very fun and interesting activity to kind of summarize and review what we've learned in this lesson. It's going to be a game format, a crossword puzzle. So stick around for that, and I'll see you in part 3. Take care.